Um, this is our second clip, right, of Seminario. And in this session, we will be, paying a close look at some aspects of teaching. First, I would like to go over the concept of what we understand by being a teacher, right? And this clip is based on ideas extracted from chapter 1 from Learning Teaching by James Scrivener. Well, how can learning happen? Well, in fact, we can think of two sources. One, that of immersion. That is, for example, when we pick up language. And what is it when we pick up language? It is when we, in a way, become good at using expressions, for example, or we start using vocabulary that has not been formally taught at any time. And that is because we have been exposed, perhaps, to language and we incorporate it unconsciously, such as students using words that they cannot say how these words are, for example, written, but they know how to use them, or even idioms or any kind of expressions or collocations. Now, immersion takes place because there is exposure that comes from books, apps, websites, films, TV series that all of us are, let's say, happy to be subjected to, right? And well, another way of being immersed into the language is by living in the community, which is not, let's say, common in our country because we live far away from English-speaking countries. Then learning happens in the language classroom, but in a different format. Why? Because the work in the language classroom is organized. It is, let's say, planned beforehand, and it is sequenced and graded. There is self-study, of course, and there is also interaction. And in this interaction, we might say that students are sharing with their peers, interacting, and being immersed all the same and exposed to language that is out of the control of the teacher. Well, Scrivener in this chapter refers to two styles of teachers, and this is a broad, let's say, classification. But there are other types of styles of teachers, but let's take the two extremes. One would be the one of the entertainer, who is a teacher that likes talking a lot, has a charismatic personality, and centers, let's say, the attention in himself or herself. And well, students have little participation. It's more like a performer rather than a facilitator. And Scrivener, let's say, in a way, questions this style, saying that there is little taking in from the students, right? Now, then, we've got the traditional style of being a teacher, and probably this is the one that we are most familiar with. Why? There is a strong figure, that is the teacher, that dominates and controls most of what is being said in the language classroom, and is in charge of transmitting it, as in the theory of Jacques and Max. The teacher has the knowledge and pours it onto the students. Now, moving on to another, let's say, key concept, it is that of rapport. Now, what is rapport? It's difficult to define, but, well, we attempted definition saying that it's the way a teacher relates with his or her students. Thus creates an atmosphere of ease and comfort, which are assets in the classroom. That is to say, what is this? I mean, it is that relationship that comes and goes in a flow of, let's say, cordiality, where the environment is friendly, where there is democracy in terms of roles, in terms of, let's say, the right to say what you think and to be heard. Now, how do we establish rapport? Well, there are many features that should be assets in the classroom if we want rapport to happen. Because in fact, if we pay attention to them, we might be helping to attain it in our with our group of students. There are many. Some of them may be more important than others, but that is a personal point of view, right? Being honest, empathizing with students' problems, inspiring confidence, and all of them are interrelated. Now, we may say that some of them may be priorities. At a professional level, well, the teacher is expected to inspire confidence in the students. That is to say, because he's knowledgeable, but this knowledge doesn't have to do only with the language, but it also has to do with the pedagogic, let's say, knowledge. She or he should know how to organize a lesson and give, let's say, the best he can give to the students, to optimize the work in each let's say encounter. So that means that at a professional level, the teacher should be organized and also approachable. And when we say approachable, it is someone who, in a way, is ready to give advice, to prompt, to guide, and students do not hesitate to say or to speak, let's say, to speak out their doubts, and why not to make mistakes and not feel frustrated or intimidated by any given feedback. Now, when we say at a professional level, the teacher should listen to the students. And what do we mean by that? Well, should try to get to know the students so as to plan and adapt their lessons according to what is going on in the students' lives. I'm not referring to private lives, but referring to what the students are doing on a daily basis. Say, imagine the students are dealing with a unit in history that has to do with the Middle Ages. Well, maybe the teacher may come up in the English lesson with a text related to that for them to do some reading comprehension. And that helps, in a way, to integrate contents with other subjects. And it also shows that the teacher is listening to what the students are talking about. At a personal level, the teacher should show that she is enthusiastic about his work, or her work, of course, and inspired. That is to say, there should be this feeling of energy, a positive attitude. At the same time, she or he should be respectful towards the students, and being respectful also means being fair. I mean, not praising someone excessively, or why not sometimes neglecting other students who are not doing so well. And of course, showing yourself as just a human being who is there, who happens to be there because, let's say, they have decided to take this course, let's say, as their way of living, right? So it doesn't mean that a teacher should know everything and be perfect. Now, we should also think about creating an effective learning environment. And that will happen only if respect is fostered, if empathy is present in the classroom, and if authenticity is, let's say, true in the group, with the group of students, and in all the actions that are taken in our, let's say, course. Well, now I'm going to invite you to watch this clip about teachers and perspectives. Now, this clip mainly, let's say, develops core ideas in terms of intelligence and learning. Well, these two positions are extreme ones, right? And can be considered, let's say, opposing. That of nature and nurture. Perhaps you have heard about this before. Well, intelligence and learning are believed to be, let's say, genetically determined, and in this way, for example, intelligence cannot be modified by any learning. That is to say, you are born with an IQ, and that IQ cannot be modified by teaching or by any means. That is to say, this is the way you are. It is, let's say, inherited. Whereas the nurture position, the one that thinks about intelligence and learning as mediated processes, stand for the influence of the environment and the culture that determines how your intelligence will be enhanced by learning and by the opportunities to learn that you have. Of course, in this, teaching has a paramount impact on the education of the human being. Now, approaches, methodologies, and techniques stand on different, let's say, sides, and sometimes stand in the middle and move on to one of the sides of nature and nurture. Now, we should understand that an approach is a set of principles at a, let's say, epistemological or philosophical level. A method is more an organized course of action that is driven by principles, and the techniques are the actual actions that take place in the classroom. So, after having cleared up these ideas, key concepts, I would like you to read in your handout chapter number 1 from Psychology for Language Teachers. It is the one that deals with schools of thought in education.